Okay, here's our 550. I showed this to you in the last video. It seems 100% complete. It's dirty. It's smashed in. You can buy these mufflers aftermarket now, so again, it's not really a concern. Plastic's dinged up, but a lot of this is from stickers that have been put on here. A lot of this is just glue, and I think it may be okay. And I showed you guys in the last video what's going on. Air filter is not horrible. First thing I'm going to look at on a saw like this is everything here. Spark plug's in place. Decomp closes. It's really dirty, but it looks like everything's in place. Now again, one of the reasons why I bought these saws is you read things online all the time, and you guys have probably noticed I've never really been a social media guy. Just too busy living life, I guess, but I read so much stuff on the internet, or at least I used to. I don't do the Facebook thing anymore or any of that, but I used to read stuff on Facebook that I just found strange based on my own experience. Now, friends, I'm not the most well-rounded or, I'm just a guy that putters around in my shop, but let's be honest, friends, how many saws have I had on my bench since I've been doing this channel? And you name it, I've worked on it. And before I had the channel, I worked on saws for years, buying and selling saws, and that's kind of where my collection got to be where it is now. I kept upgrading saws until I found the ones that I liked. And I always read online that, well, you need a dealer if you buy one of these. These things are useless if you live rural because they got to be plugged in all the time. Now, friends, I have a 572, a 562, and a 576, and I've had two 576s. My 576 carbed model was horrible. It had all kinds of problems with leaning out. I rebuilt it twice and finally blew it up one day. Circlip let go. Never figured out what was wrong with that saw. But my 576, which is a first gen auto tune, I've never needed a dealer for that. That saw runs perfectly all the time, every time. If I went into the shop and grabbed it right now, I guarantee that saw would start in 3 pulls. My 562, I've probably put more hours on than any other saw that I own. Again, I've never done one of these factory resets where you cut a long piece of wood, and I've never done any of that, friends. I fire it up, I let it idle, and the auto tune seems to do its thing and adjust to the temperature that day, and then I run it, and I've never had a problem with that saw. And I follow the restart procedure for a hot start, and again, never had a situation. One time that saw wouldn't start. It was 42 degrees Celsius, and none of my saws would start. I had 5 saws with me, and not a single one would restart after I ran it. So, anyways, I'll stop rambling. My question is today is, will this saw start? Does it run? If it doesn't run, we're going to have to go into some diagnostics and see if this thing's even worth repairing. And again, I said in the last video, I paid $30 at auction for this saw, friends. That's a rare deal, and that's a good deal. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't even know if it has spark, and I'm not even going to spend the time to see if it has spark. Pull the decomp out. First thing I'm checking here, friends, not a lot of compression in this thing. I don't know how much these made stock. It still thumps a little bit, though. It's not completely trashed, but anyways, I'm going to prime this thing, okay? There's still fuel in it. See what it smells like. Use your nose. You don't got to get fancy. Smells like good, fresh fuel. Who knows how long this thing's been sitting? Okay. Let's pump it. Okay, that's not a primer bulb. It's called a purge bulb, but you got to pump these things until that bulb fills up. Okay, I'm just going to move you guys back here. I won't even edit you. Okay, right back here. I don't know if this saw is even going to fire, so I've pumped it. I've pulled the controller or control lever up and pushed out and up. That puts it on full choke. Okay, make sure you guys can see this. Bring you guys back a bit. Okay, see if this saw starts. This thing literally just fired on the first go, friends. So let's take it off at full choke. Now, friends, I know you're gonna say that's crazy. I've never run this saw. I just got these 2 days ago and I haven't had time to look at them. Okay, I have pulled this thing over a bazillion times, but it fired. Well, friends, it runs. I wouldn't say well. I'm gonna restart this thing as per the hot start, full choke, clip it up, and then click it down so it's on fast idle. I'm gonna let this thing run on fast idle for 30 seconds, okay? And you guys can watch this. This is what I do with my 562, because sometimes it's cranky when I first run it. Who knows, this thing might have blown up in winter and it might still be rich. Okay, so again, up, all the way down. I won't even purge this thing because it's not warm enough yet. You'll hear this thing, it's kind of popping and farting. The auto-tune's trying to figure out what it needs to do. Listen to this, I'll run it for like 30 seconds and then see if it stalls. Now, friends, did you hear that? Again, I read online, you got to do this factory reset, and I'm sure that's the proper way to do it. But friends, when I got my 562, there wasn't any of that stuff online. I've had mine for 8 years probably. They were new when I got mine. I think mine was 3 years old. It was blown up and I rebuilt it hoping it would run after. Didn't have the money to waste then on rebuilding saws. I needed that thing to cut firewood. It's run ever since, but what I noticed is when I first started, if it's been sitting for a month, I need to do that. I leave it on fast idle. Did you hear it's kind of chugging and then it got smoother and smoother and smoother? My thoughts are this was a little bit rich. So this saw probably was put aside in winter here. In winter, you got to run a saw rich because of the air density and things like that. And then when you fire them up in summer, they're usually really, really rich. And that's where I would pull out my screwdriver. But of course, this is auto-tune saw. Now watch, it'll start this time again. Okay, I'm gonna let that one cool down. Friends, for 30 bucks it runs still and it feels snappy. Now, the tricky thing is an auto tune will tune around a massive air leak. This thing could have an air leak and I have no way of knowing. So saw like that, you probably want to put seals and have a look at the bearings and have a look at the top end. I'm gonna let this thing cool down and we'll pull the muffler off at the end of the video and see how bad a shape's it in. But that thing runs good. That thing's a little hot rod. I've heard about those for years, but I've never owned one. Every one I've ever had is blown up. So the 550 is like owning a ported saw, friends. Ported saws will blow up right away if you don't keep them sharp. That's the same. That's a high-powered, high-heat, high RPM saw. If you don't sharpen one of those, you will pop it right away. Okay. Next saw here. I don't even know if I'm going to bring you guys in. You guys have looked at this. We're at 10 minutes already, so 261. This one has gobs of compression. I don't know what's wrong with this one. It said 4 parts. The tag that was on it disappeared by the time I got home. I don't know the deal with this one. It has tons of compression. Maybe it needs an ignition, or I don't even know. Now, this is a Stihl M-Tronic. It's got a triangle and an eye, and stop is all the way up on the saw. So I'm guessing if I pull the trigger and push it all the way down, it locks there. I'm guessing that's choke, but again, friends, I don't know. So Stihl guys, take it easy on me. I just know enough to be dangerous, and not a professional, just some guy horsing around in his driveway. Okay, this thing has fuel in it. Let's check. If the fuel's no good, I'll put fresh fuel in. Oh yeah, that smells like brand new fuel. So probably even has bar oil in it, does it? Yep. Interesting. Okay. No purge valve on this. I usually pull the decomps out on these small saws. It's not something that I need. I find they start easier when you're pulling good compression because you get more impulse. Yeah, like this thing's got all kinds of compression, especially with a dry cylinder. Okay, ready? Well, again, that's a point for Stihl. That thing, I have never started that saw, friends, and it fired right away. The clutch sounds a little rattly. I'm not sure. In the last video, I made note that the bearing may be no good. Hi, Daisy. Sorry, my dog just walked through here. That's the way she goes. And I had to cut the video there. My dog Daisy May came running over, and she decided she didn't like the noise that this saw was making. So she's a Husqvarna dog at heart. No, I'm just kidding. She's like that sometimes. Sometimes she's good with saws, and other times she doesn't like the noise. So anyhow, let's fire this thing back up again. I don't know what the deal is with this, but again, we'll let it cool down. And this thing seems to run perfectly. Ooh, friends, it sounded real lean right there, but it runs, so we'll leave it at that. Who knows, maybe this thing's got a massive air leak somewhere. Again though, we'll let it cool down. I'll pop all 3 mufflers off at the end of the video, and we can see what we're dealing with. Okay, last but not least, the 441. I'm going to tap this air filter out. This saw doesn't feel happy. It should thump a little better. 70cc saw. And I'm just going to top this air filter out. In the last video, I showed you guys this air filter is just clogged. Other than that, this looks pretty good. In fact, maybe I'll just try and start this with no air filter. Let's put it back on. Let's do an apples to apples. I have run these in M-Tronic. I remember something funny with the choke. I can't remember though, so many years ago. I haven't run one of these in a long time. So same thing, I'm going to push the trigger all the way down, put it on choke, and these things have really floppy anti-vibe. I remember this being a smooth saw, but it's I think it's a lot like the 500i. It's floppy, so if you run long bars, nothing wrong with these saws though, friends. Okay, let's see fuel in this, because again, there's no point on. It smells like fuel. We'll see what it does. Okay, full choke. Interesting. Okay. This thing seems to want to run, but maybe I'll put it back on choke again and see. You guys can hear it firing. I probably just flooded it here. Ooh. That's good for the shoulders. Interesting. I'm going to pull the air filter off, make sure the clutch is free. Clutch is definitely free on this saw. The stop is all the way up. Maybe I'll try putting some more fresh fuel in here, friends, and see. I don't know. Looking into here, has a fuel filter. It doesn't look clogged, so put some more fuel in this thing. Another one of them crop dusters. That guy's making his money the last couple days. He was flying till dark last night, and he's been going since first thing this morning. Those guys work hard. That's a crazy job. Being a crop duster, like, tell me those guys don't have good hands and feet. That'd be a cool job. In my next life, I want to be a crop duster, I think. Anyways, that'd be fun, but also exhausting probably. Okay, well. Put it back on choke, see if it fires again. Well, the clip just broke off. Both of them. I lost both clips for the air filter. Oh well. Okay. Up. So friends, my guess is this thing is a massive air leak. Possibly. Thing is with M-Tronics and auto tunes, they will overcome a massive air leak, but they, to a point, friends. You guys got a minute? Let's have a look see. Let's pull the sprocket off and see what we can see under there. Now I've had a few of these on my bench over the years, and these things don't tolerate abuse. This was like Stihl's first. Oh yeah, I guess the clutch is under there, so you're not going to see anything, friends. I'll have to pull the clutch off. We can do that on another video. Anyways, this is Stihl's. Laugh with me or at me, friends. That was funny. Yeah, I'll just look at nothing. This was Stihl's first attempt at us, you know, an M-Tronic. And these ran pretty good. They did. But they were not without their issues. Now, those of you that know, these saws were quietly discontinued. And that was that. I wonder what the spark plug looks like on this. Well, I got you guys here. We might as well. Maybe the spark plug just looks horrendous. Wow, you can't even. Wow. So what? I gotta pull. I'm not gonna complain, friends, but Stihl really likes to make their things complicated. Like this, I can't pull the spark plug boot off, friends, unless I start taking plastic off, which is more of a bench job. So I'm gonna leave it at that. We'll try and start it one more time. But so this one probably needs a complete rebuild. We could pressure and vac test it, or I could just start tearing into it, because I know I'm probably gonna find a bad crank seal or something like that. I'm just gonna put these clips back on. I'm gonna find something obvious. This thing clearly has spark. It has fuel. Maybe it's got could have a bad fuel line. Don't count anything out on these saws, because don't always assume that it's the. And one thing I remember about these, friends, and I just lost that clip. So this saw is very difficult to work on. I remember this. I've taken them apart. Getting the carb off this thing is, you need like 6 hands. So we can work on this on the channel, but this is not. How can I explain this? This is not my favorite 70cc saw. Never has been, never will be. They run good, but as a saw mechanic, friends, I like things that I can work on, and this is definitely not that saw. Okay, one more time. Full choke. Now it doesn't want to start at all. Maybe I did something with the spark plug boot. So yeah, friends, I'm gonna say I probably just attached the spark plug boot from the wire. The boot end is stuck pretty good. Oh, that's gonna hurt later. This saw hears me talking trash about it, and it's like, I'll show you, Tin Man. Well, I got the boot off. Can I get this off? Yeah, I can. Oh, seems like the spark plug's loose. Funny story. Oh, there you go, friends. So I detached the boot from the wire, and I probably can't get this back in without taking the top cover off, because again, these are hard to work on. I'm not poo-pooing it. Those of you that have these are a good running saw. I enjoy running them. They're not my favorite saw, but they do run. Here, let's put that like that and just see if the thing will fire. These saws are not easy to work on. They're overly complicated. This thing's probably flooded now, so. Okay, ready? Probably flooded it. Let's pull the trigger old school and see if it'll start. And no. We're going to cut the video short there. For one reason, I was having so much fun on the tailgate of the truck the other day that I shot like an hour of footage, and I started editing it and going through it, and I thought, you know, it would be a shame to chop this down in like a 22 minute video. So I'm going to cut it right here. Sorry, friends, the mosquitoes are eating me alive, but I like to sit out here, listen to the frogs chirp before I go to bed. It's good to be me. I love living here. But anyhow, stay tuned, friends. In the next video, I have another 15 or 20 minutes of video. We'll pull the mufflers off next time, and let's look at the pistons. Are these saws blown up? Are they scored? Are they blown up? Is there piston damage, or are they just worn out? Well, in the next video, we'll look at each one of these saws by pulling the muffler off and looking through the exhaust port, and we'll see. I think you guys are going to be shocked at what I find. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that, friends. The one I thought was going to be good wasn't good. And one I thought was going to be completely popped was not popped at all. And the third one was way worse than I assumed it was going to be. So you never know what you're going to find until you look through that exhaust port. So again, friends, I've said this before, do not overpay for a used saw if you're not allowed to pull the muffler off. Because sometimes you'll pay top dollar for a saw and find out it's completely trashed inside. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy. And I just inhaled a mosquito. Later.